Did you know that some foods in your pantry might outlast you? It's true. I've discovered a secret arsenal of foods that practically never expire. In this video, I'm going to reveal the top foods that can keep you nourished through any crisis, whether it's a natural disaster or a zombie apocalypse. Hey, you never know. These just aren't any old canned foods, folks. We're talking about nutrient-dense powerhouses that'll keep you healthy and strong when you need it most. Let's start with what I like to call the mighty trio: salt, sugar, and honey. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, aren't those the foods we're supposed to avoid? Well, yes and no. When it comes to everyday eating, moderation is the key. But in a survival situation, these three powerhouses can be absolute lifesavers. Let's talk about how these items work for their magic as natural preservatives. Salt, for instance, is like a kryptonite to bacteria. It sucks out moisture, creating an environment where those nasty microorganisms just cannot survive. That's why salted meats and fish can last for ages without spoiling. Sugar's got a similar trick up its sleeve. It loves to hog all the moisture, leaving bacteria high and dry. And honey? No, honey's got a whole arsenal of weapons. It's super low in water, highly acidic, and packed with antimicrobial properties. It's like a fortress against spoilage. You know, people have been using these foods to keep their grub fresh for centuries. Ancient Egyptians used to use salt to preserve their mummies. Talk about long lasting. And get this, archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that were still good after thousands of years. That's what I call shelf stable. But here's the million-dollar question. Which one of these superfoods lasts the longest? Drum roll, please. It's honey. Properly stored, honey can last for thousands of years. Yes, you heard that right. Thousands. It's like the immortal superhero of the food world. Now, as much as I'd love to live on honey alone, wouldn't that be sweet? We can't exactly survive on just these foods. They're great for preservation and adding flavor, but our bodies need a bit more variety to keep running smoothly. So, what else should we be stocking up on for those just-in-case moments? Well, vitality enthusiasts, that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Let's move on to something a little more meatier, literally. It's time to chat about protein powerhouses that can stand the test of time. You know, I once opened a can of beans from my grandma's pantry that was older than I was. Now, before you go, ew, gross, let me tell you, those beans were perfectly fine. It got me thinking, in a world where fresh meat spoils so quickly, how can we ensure we're getting enough protein when the chips are down? Well, I've got some tasty solutions that'll make you look at your pantry in a whole new light. When it comes to survival, protein is your best friend. It keeps your muscles strong, your immune system pumping, and your energy levels up. But here's the problem. Fresh meat goes bad faster than you can say apocalypse. So what's the health-conscious prepper to do? Enter the humble bean. These little guys are like superheroes of the food world. They're packed with protein, fiber, and essential minerals. And the best part, they can last for decades. That's right, dried beans can stay good for up to 30 years when stored properly. Talk about bang for your buck. Now, I know what you're thinking, but how do I store these magical beans? Well, it's easier than you might think. First, make sure your beans are bone dry. Any moisture is a big no-no. Then seal them tight in airtight containers. For extra protection, throw in some oxygen absorbers, and this keeps the mold out and those pesky insects that think your beans are their all-you-can-eat buffet. But what if you're craving something a little meatier? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Let's talk about canned meats. Now, I know canned meat might not sound super appetizing, but hear me out. Canned tuna, salmon, chicken, and turkey can last anywhere from 2 to 5 years. That's a lot of protein-packed meals waiting patiently on your shelf. The secret to canned meat's longevity is in the canning process. They seal that meat up tight and heat it to high temperatures, killing off any bacteria that might want to try to crash the party. It's like a time capsule for your taste buds. Now, I'm not saying that these canned meats will taste exactly the same as fresh after a few years. The texture and flavor might change a bit, and some of the nutritional content might decrease. But when you're in a pinch, they'll still give you that protein boost you need. So there you have it. Beans and canned meats, your protein powerhouses for the long haul. Stock up on these and you'll be ready for anything life throws your way. Now, we've got the protein bases covered. Let's move on to something equally important. Ready to talk carbs? Trust me, it's more exciting than it sounds. Ever wondered if there's a carb that could survive longer than your emergency flashlight batteries? Well, we're about to explore some grains that could give your canned beans a run for their money in the longevity department. Which common pantry staple do you think can last up to 3 decades? Right now, we're going to talk about carbs. I know, carbs get a bad rap these days, but let me tell you, when it comes to survival food, carbs are your best friend. They're like little energy packets that keep you going when times get tough. And trust me, in an emergency, you'll want all the energy you can get. But here's the thing, don't carbs go bad quickly? I mean, we've all found that forgotten loaf of bread turning green in the back of the pantry, right? Well, not all carbs are created equal when it comes to shelf life. Let me show you the secret to making white rice last up to 30 years. White rice and brown rice are like the tortoise and the hare of the grain world. Brown rice might be healthier, but white rice wins the longevity race hands down. Why? Well, brown rice has oils in the bran layer that can go rancid over time. White rice, on the other hand, has had that layer removed so it can last much longer. Now let's move on to pasta. You might think pasta goes bad quickly, but guess what? When stored properly, pasta can last for 20 to 30 years. That's right, your spaghetti might outlast your favorite pair of jeans. The secret is in the storage. You want to keep it in airtight containers like 5-gallon buckets inside of Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers in a cool, dry place. And don't forget about oats. Rolled oats are like the quiet achiever of the long-term storage world. They can last 20 to 30 years when stored properly. That's a lot of future breakfasts. So which of these carb superstars lasts the longest? Drum roll, please. Good. White rice. Properly stored, white rice can last up to 30 years. That's right. The rice you buy today could still be good when your grandkids raid your pantry. But remember, a balanced diet needs more than just carbs. We've covered proteins and now carbs, but what about those other essential nutrients? Well, stick around. We're about to dive into some surprising items you might not have thought about for your survival stockpile. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. All right, vitality enthusiasts, we've covered the basics, but what if I told you there's an item in your pantry that could outlast even your trusty can opener? And get this, it's not just for drinking. This unexpected essential could save your life in more ways than one. Now we're going to talk about rounding out your survival stockpile. And I know what you're thinking, but wait, what about vitamins and minerals? We can't live on rice and beans alone. And you're absolutely right. That's why I'm excited to show you some surprising items that'll keep your body running like a well-oiled machine, even when the world's gone topsy-turvy. First up, let's talk about powdered milk. I know, it doesn't sound super exciting, but trust me, this stuff is like a superhero in disguise. It's packed with calcium and protein, and here's the kicker. When stored properly in Mylar bags, it can last up to 20 years or more. That's 2 decades of creamy goodness waiting patiently on your shelf. You can use it for cooking, baking, or just whip up a glass when you're craving something smooth and nutritious. But we're not stopping there. Let's talk about canned fruits and vegetables. These little powerhouses are crucial for keeping your diet balanced when fresh produce is just a distant memory. They're like time capsules of vitamins and minerals, and the best part, they often last way beyond the expiration date on the can, as long as the can isn't damaged. So don't be too quick to toss out those expired cans. They might just be your ticket to staying healthy in tough times. So there you have it, vitality enthusiasts, from powdered milk to canned veggies to good old honey. These unexpected essentials will round out your stockpile and keep you thriving no matter what life throws your way. Now, we've covered all the basics. Let's wrap things up and get you started on building your own survival pantry. Trust me, you'll thank me later when you're sipping on a 20-year-old powdered milk cocktail. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the mighty trio to unexpected essentials. We've explored the foods that'll keep you going when times are tough. But remember, a well-planned survival stockpile is about more than just having a bunch of cans in your pantry. It's about balance, variety, and thinking ahead. So here's what I want you to do. Start small. Pick up a few extra cans of beans or an extra bag of rice next time you're at the store. Gradually build up your supply. Aim for at least a 3-day emergency food supply to start. That's about 2,000 calories per person per day. And hey, while you're at it, why not invite your neighbors over for a prep party? You can swap tips, share resources, and maybe even sample some of that 30-year-old rice. Just kidding. Save that for when you really need it. Remember, being prepared isn't about living in fear. It's about having peace of mind. So stock up, stay informed, and keep that vitality spirit alive. After all, you never know when life might throw you a curveball or a zombie apocalypse.